there, friends, and thank you so much for being with us on this Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Welcome to Weather Out West, where we're showcasing what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. You're going to find coverage from the Pacific Northwest to California, Arizona, and the Mountain West. First up, we're going to start out in Denver, Colorado, and we are going to have some heating before we start to see a couple of showers maybe in portions of the state. Check it out.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Kathy Sabin, and we are tracking the potential for heavy rain. Now, don't get me wrong, we love the rain. We've been talking about fires for the last 2 weeks, but when we get into this monsoon season where the slow-moving storms come up from the south, that seasonal wind shift that allows for that moisture to make it all the way from Old Mexico into downtown Denver, well, the slow-moving storms can sometimes create localized flooding issues, and that's what we have been seeing. This plume of moisture coming through the desert southwest into Colorado, arcing back up into the Midwest, and this is going to be a trend until high pressure slides a little bit over the next 24 to 36 hours. But a lot of water coming to Colorado, and we need it. You know, we're always talking about drought and wildfires, but sometimes slow-moving storms, localized flooding, well, in burn scar areas, that can create a big problem for us. Storm Prediction Center has us in that level 1 out of 5 for severe threat. And it's probably going to be wind and small hail, but it's generally just kind of looking like maybe more of a flood threat than anything else. And that would be today and tomorrow. But along with today and tomorrow, the severe weather threat is minimal, thank goodness, but temperatures will be cooler in the mid 80s today, low 80s tomorrow. We'll be tracking a mostly cloudy sky, slow moving storms moving from the south to the north. As they do, capable of dropping a quick inch of rain in less than an hour's time. Temperatures cooler today, low to mid 80s. We'll see this temperature trend again tomorrow. So we'll enjoy temperatures cooler for today and tomorrow because we hit Friday. We're back to sunshine and 90, mid 90s Saturday. I think we could touch 100 on either Sunday or Monday, close to record territory. A little moisture coming back in on Tuesday for a return of some afternoon thunderstorms. But really for us today, we're watching that radar very closely for that localized flooding threat.
If you are a fall or a winter lover, you're gonna wanna turn up the volume. If you're a summer lover, just go like this, la 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 for a quick second. So, we are officially past our hottest week of the year on average in Denver as of today, as of this Wednesday, July the 23rd. Our hottest week of the year, July the 17th through the 22nd, when our average high temperature is 91. It also marks our hottest temperature ever, or at least going back 20 years, when on July the 20th of 2005, we got up to 105 degrees for us here in Denver. Now, as of today, our average high temperature has dropped to 90 degrees. Might not seem like a big deal going from 91 to 90. It's not. However, if you factor in the broader context of the fact that now our average high temperature will begin to continually slide all the way until December the 15th, which is on average our coldest week of the year with an average high temperature of 43 degrees. Now you're going, ooh, yeah, we're just starting. Just the littlest glimmer of that starts down to fall and eventually winter as well. So, give you a few dates. Again, if you're a fall lover, a winter lover, you're gonna like this, summer lover, hopefully you're continuing to go blah, 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 right? Average high temperature drops below 80 for us here in Denver on September the 17th. It drops below 70 on October the 7th, and it drops below 60 degrees on Halloween on October the 31st. So there you have it. We have just begun the slimmest drop all the way down to fall and eventually winter.
Thanks so much, Chris and Kathy. I saw October 31st, my favorite day of the year, Halloween, of course. Now we're going to take you to Arizona, where they're going to have some drier air moving in. That's going to lead to some warmer temperatures. Also, there is a small chance for showers in eastern Arizona. Jen Wall has the details from Phoenix.
I'm meteorologist Jen Wall in Phoenix. You are waking up to upper 80s around the Phoenix area, so close to 90, and temperatures, yeah, they are going to climb throughout the day today as drier air makes its way across the state. Beautiful north 50s, Flagstaff 40s, Grand Canyon. Looking east where we still have some moisture, 60s Show Low and 70s in Globe. Across the valley, look at your neighborhood temps, 85 in Avondale, 82 Goodyear, 84 Surprise, Scottsdale, 87 Tempe, and 80 in Apache Junction. So you can see as you get farther away from the Phoenix area, those numbers just a little lower. We will be heating up. Unfortunately, 110 is just a few days away. I'll show you in just a little bit in my 7-day forecast, but we're going to be drying out here in the desert. Storms mostly staying east, and then they return those storm chances to the valley by the beginning of next week. So here's a look at what's happening on radar right now. You can see the western side of the state stretching into the Phoenix area, pretty dry, not even a cloud in the sky, but those clouds are hitting the valley, mostly the eastern side. Gilbert, Chandler to Apache Junction, we have some isolated showers falling this morning. You can see around Globe, Superior, Kearney. Those are going to stay in the forecast throughout the afternoon. Your monsoon impact, it's going to be at a 0 for western Arizona. For the valley, unfortunately, as we dry out, a 1 in northern Arizona, a 3 for Rim Country and White Mountains in southeastern Arizona. Quite a difference from earlier this week, now at a 0. So as those storms move off to the east, really strengthening just east of Arizona into New Mexico and beyond, you can see pausing this morning, we just have right along the rim in eastern Arizona the storm chances. So Show Low, Greer, Safford, you could expect to see some afternoon and evening rain. And then we fast forward through early tomorrow morning, the state pretty much clear and dry. So a different weather pattern making its way in, allowing temperatures to rise. We're still going to be below average today though, so that's fantastic. We'll be in the 90s through noon, triple digits from about 2 to 6. It is almost the end of July. That is not bad. Flagstaff today, you can see upper 50s to start your day. We'll be in the upper 60s by 9 and then 70s throughout the afternoon. So it's going to be gorgeous up north. Not quite hitting the 80s, but those are around for northern Arizona in the coming days. High today in Phoenix, 103. So average is 106. We're still just a few degrees below, but unfortunately, we're getting back into that above average territory into the weekend. Neighborhood temps today, 104 Goodyear, 102 Surprise, 102 in Glendale, Chandler, 101 Queen Creek, 99 Apache Junction, and 103 for Phoenix. Statewide, you can expect to hit 90s in Globe, Safford, 80s Show Low, Payson, almost 90 there in Sedona. Certainly going to feel like it with the sunshine. 86 Prescott. And then look at temperatures in far western Arizona. A lot different as temperatures rise. 105 Parker, 105 at Lake Havasu with a lot of that sunshine. Tonight, we're going to get you down to the low 80s around the valley. Sunset just after 7:30. Wind really won't even be an issue for the next few days. But again, we want to show you those temperatures. We stay below average through Thursday, climb right up there Friday, and then jump into above average territory by the end of the weekend. So 110 Sunday, Monday, 108 Tuesday, and that's when those storm chances do return to the valley. Take a look at Flagstaff, 70s today, tomorrow. Very slight chances for storms today. Dry into the weekend, into the 80s, and just like the valley, yep, early next week, Monday, Tuesday, could see some rain, thunder, and lightning.
Coming up next, we're taking you to the Golden State. Stay with us. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Wednesday. Now it's time to head to California. Our first stop is Southern California. They are expecting cooler than normal temperatures. Those are going to stick around, and they're expecting an uptick in winds. Vanessa Paz has all of the details from San Diego.
And happy Wednesday, everyone. I am joining you from the beautiful San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Here's what it looked like earlier in Coronado. This was a shot from our lovely Hotel Del Coronado Skycam. If you ever find yourself in San Diego, you should certainly check out the beaches. But of course, this spot specifically, pretty popular and famous as well. That's Hotel Del. All right, speaking of Coronado, this is actually a background image from Coronado as well. As we take a look at your weather headlines, kicking off the second half of the work week here in SoCal. We're still looking at cooler than average temperatures all the way through the rest of the week. The clouds will continue to take over when we talk about the mornings as well as your nights, and it will be noticeably warmer looking ahead to next week, but nothing significant in terms of an extreme heat up. We're not looking at anything shooting to record breaking. In fact, we'll be a little closer to seasonal, a little above that, especially for the valleys. All right, here's our satellite radar picture. The clouds took over overnight, spilling into the valleys as well as some of our foothill neighborhoods. It will continue to retreat west, and that's exactly what a lot of neighborhoods, especially the farther from the coast that you were waking up, saw this morning. A lot better clearing in comparison to Tuesday morning. As we fast forward our forecast radar, a lot more sunshine, especially in those neighborhoods that hug the 15 corridor. Yesterday, we saw those clouds stubborn to clear, and today we're expecting clear skies, plenty of vitamin D to go around, anywhere from the 5 all the way to the 15. We will have some patchy clouds, though, especially along the immediate coast as we progress through Wednesday before those clouds roll in later on tonight. In terms of winds, they are going to have an uptick, all due to that onshore flow. Remember, they strengthen, intensify once they get up the mountain slopes and descend down. And that's exactly what we'll see for the eastern slopes of the mountains, specifically all the way towards the desert areas. Isolated gusts could see an uptick anywhere between 30 to 40 miles per hour or so. But as of right now, no wind advisories have been issued as of yet. Today's forecast, looking at highs in the mid to low 70s along the coastal communities. Will be in the mid 80s for the inland as well as the mountain areas, and low hundreds for our desert. Here's a look at the big picture. We have this trough of low pressure. It will be stubborn to clear and move out of the way all the way through the weekend, is when we'll finally have ridging, also known as a dome of warm air, settle closer to the west coast, and that will usher in that warming pattern that we're expecting next Monday and Tuesday. As we take a look at overnight lows, subtle daily changes in comparison to what we saw last night. Tonight will drop down to the 60s for most of the coastal areas, down to the 50s for the inland valleys as well as the foothill communities, and will be close to the mid 70s for our desert areas, which is usual. Here's a quick look at Thursday's highs as we slowly but surely start to wrap up the work week tomorrow. Something to keep in mind, a fun note, is the first day of Comic-Con. It will last all the way through Sunday. A lot of people will be visiting for that event specifically. Here's a quick look at highs for tomorrow. We'll be reaching the mid to high 70s all the way from Oceanside down to about Chula Vista. 80s on tap for most of the inland valleys, especially interior parts of the county. Julian will shoot up to the mid 80s as well tomorrow afternoon, and will be touching low hundreds for spots like Borrego Springs as well as Ocotillo Wells. As we take a look at the coastal 7-day forecast, not a lot of change. In fact, we are looking at highs to be anywhere between still 5 to 10 degrees below seasonal. As we switch gears and give you a look at the 7-day forecast, didn't pop up for me there, but what you need to know basically is that we are expecting highs to be still below seasonal. Here's the picture of it rolled out in your 7-day. Close to 80 degrees by the time we hit the middle of next week. And a quick look at the inland valleys. We will be in the high 70s, low 80s all the way through the weekend. And then looking ahead to next Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when we will feel noticeably warmer across the region.
Now let's head to Northern California, where Sacramento's Monica Woods is tracking cooler than normal temperatures, a coastal flood advisory, and an elevated thunderstorm and fire risk for the Sierra.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods looking at our northern and central California forecast. In our regional headlines along the coast, we've got fog and also the potential of some minor flooding. For the valley, staying cool and a fall-like feel for the foothills in the Sierra. thunderstorm risk is going to elevate that fire danger as well. Coastal Valley flood advisory continues through very early Thursday morning. Some high tides, so some parking lots and things of that nature might see some higher water. Just be aware of that if you're headed towards the coast. Had some morning fog kind of trying to press through parts of the Coastal Valley community near Solano County. Didn't quite make it into Nevada, Calaveras, and Placer counties. Once we get above that fog, we saw clear skies for the most part. A little bit of high cloud cover, some instability out there, and that's going to elevate the risk of some Sierra thunderstorms. Highs for today in the low to mid 90s up and down the valley, 60s for the coast, 80s for much of the foothills, and 70s for the high country. Looking at our July so far for the Sacramento area, you see a lot of blue up there. Below average conditions continue to persist. Now, our average high so far, 90.4 degrees. That's going to be below what we normally see. Not to mention, we've only had one 100-degree day this month. Last time we saw that, 1993. And the last time we saw no 100s for the month, 2004. So this rare July outlook will continue, and probably favorably so as well. Low pressure system off the coast, well, that's going to add some instability to this year and also give us a risk of thunderstorms. Started off with mostly clear skies today for the Tahoe Basin with fairly calm conditions. But again, Wednesday afternoon, we see that risk of thunderstorms. And then for Thursday, it expands throughout the northern part of the state with a risk of lightning sparked fires. So some higher fire potential developing for the forecast there. As far as what we're looking at for our Wednesday, chance of thunderstorms Thursday, that expands a bit more through this year. Spine, Northern California already dealing with a couple of big fires this year. For Friday afternoon, once again, see that chance of thunderstorms throughout this year. Onshore flow, that'll keep us on the cooler side all throughout Central and Northern California for this very abnormally cool July, which will likely wrap up with one of the coolest that we've seen in recent memory. Highs are in the 70s for the Tahoe Basin today with that chance of thunderstorms. As we move into the foothills, we're in the 70s and 80s. In the Central Sierra, we've got that risk of thunderstorms today, predominantly around Yosemite with a high of 83. Once we move into the valley, the San Joaquin Valley, unseasonably cool as well. Great for all those agricultural interests with temperatures near 90. We're at 75 for Pinehurst. Moving over towards the Central Coast from the Monterey Bay Peninsula in the 60s all the way down to Morro Bay. We're in the 60s, 73 for San Luis Obispo. As we move inland, a little bit warmer as we lose kind of a touch of that marine air. For the Bay Area, started off with quite a bit of low clouds and fog. Temperatures in the 60s. Coastal Valley communities in the 80s. Napa wine country at 77 for today. Northwest Coast is going to be cool. Fort Bragg up to 60 for today. Move inland, we're in the 90s, including Redding at 93, Chico at 88. Over towards parts of the higher elevations, slight chance of a thunderstorm for today. Capital Regional forecast, highs are going to be in the 80s this afternoon, about 10 to almost 15 degrees below average. Yesterday, we only had a high of 80. Chance of thunderstorms continues for this Sierra through Saturday, potentially into our Sunday. We'll be tracking that. For the foothills, highs will stay in the 80s with dry and fall conditions continuing there. Mix of sun and clouds for the coast, lots of low clouds and fog actually socking in a lot of the Bay Area. 7-day forecast. Highs are going to start to warm by the end of the weekend. Our high 88 degrees, but it's not until next week we even get close to near average temperatures when we see our warmest days of our 10-day outlook in the low 90s.
Thanks so much, Monica. That's a good looking forecast. So coming up next, we're taking you to the Northwest. A very happy Wednesday to you. Now we're going to take you to Idaho, where their temperatures are about to crank up, which means the summer sizzle is making a comeback. Here's Rachel Garceau with much more from Boise.
Hey there, I'm Rachel Garceau forecasting out of Boise, Idaho, where we have been enjoying a very refreshing kickoff to the work week. But as we talk about what's on the way, summer sizzle does start to rebuild today, getting warmer as we head towards the end of the work week. Overall, weather conditions generally quiet for the lower elevations of southern Idaho, but there is a possibility every afternoon we could have a couple of stray thunderstorms popping up in the higher elevations of central and southern Idaho as we have just enough moisture streaming streaming in from the southwest to keep those storm chances in play. Speaking of summer sizzle, as a reminder, we so far in Boise have landed at or above 100 degrees 4 times so far in 2025, 3 of which were in the month of July. And for some perspective, remember last July, we spent half of the month in triple-digit territory. In fact, this week last year, we were in the middle of a 9-day streak of triple-digit temperatures. Now, as we look ahead to the next 10 days, as far as our high temp trend goes for the City of Trees, we will be close to the century mark by the middle of next week, the final few days of July. But if we don't get there, we will wrap up this month with only 3 days at the century mark or hotter. That is pretty notable considering this tends to be one of the hottest months of the year. Still, we will be in the 90s almost every afternoon from now through the start of August, late next week. But looking ahead to the rest of our day today, tons of sunshine in play. By lunchtime, we're up around 80 degrees, heading for highs in the low 90s across the Treasure Valley. We'll have light northwesterly winds, abundant sunshine overhead. So temperatures inching up day by day compared to that cool start to the week on Monday. We'll continue to see that warming trend lingering through the end of the work week. Across the region today, low 90s generally across the Treasure Valley. We'll land in the mid 80s for Jerome and Twin Falls today. As we climb up in elevation, we'll see low 80s around Haley and Fairfield. Very pleasant for McCall and Stanley, hitting those upper 70s after landing in the mid 30s in areas like Stanley this morning. A pretty big temperature swing across our mountain areas. So as far as our big picture setup, here's what we're looking at. Area of low pressure that brought in that dramatic cool down on Monday will continue slowly meandering off to the east northeast today into tomorrow. Then we have another area of low pressure that will slowly start drifting northward. Currently, it's off the coast of Northern California. And between those two features, we get this southwesterly flow that will bring us warmer air, but will also keep our atmosphere just saturated and unstable enough to warrant those late day storms nearly every afternoon from now through the weekend, potentially into early next week. So here's what it will look like on our futurecast. There goes this area of low pressure, but still we could have a couple of stray storms this afternoon across the region. Not very big as far as coverage goes and not much in the way of impacts. Thursday afternoon, with more moisture in play, we could see that storm activity get a little bit more widespread, potentially reaching into the central mountains, far southwest Idaho as well. These storms could pack a little bit of a bigger punch on Thursday. We could likely see that all play out again on Friday into Saturday and the weekend. So as far as the impacts we're tracking, besides the heat for the lower elevations, it's really just those isolated late day thunderstorms every afternoon through the weekend, mostly not impacting the Treasure Valley. Some of those winds, though, could roll into the Boise area if those storms get close enough, moving from southwest to northeast. Otherwise, as we look at that 7-day outlook for the Boise area, heat really is the big headline. We talked about those mid 90s coming in by the end of the work week. Little bit cooler over the weekend, not by much, but we'll have a system coming in from the west that could bring some cloud cover overhead, could trigger some breezy winds over the weekend. It'll knock temperatures back down just a couple of degrees Saturday and Sunday. After that, we do see the heat starting to rebound early next week as we head towards the end of the month. We're reaching for 100 degrees Monday, Tuesday. Not quite there, but still upper 90s with lots of sunshine for the week.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Now we're going to take you to Oregon, where they're expecting sunshine in 90s. That is going to return to the Portland area today, but it's not going to last very long. Also, southern and central Oregon has a new fire weather watch that's in place on Thursday. Chris McGinnis has much more.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Chris McGinnis checking out the visible satellite imagery across northwest Oregon and southwest Washington today. The cloud cover, we had some early this morning, but it is not nearly as expansive. It's retreating earlier, faster than it did yesterday. And the imagery certainly bears that out. We're already seeing the clouds peel away back through Cowlitz County and again along the Oregon coast as well. The clouds dissipating more quickly today than yesterday. Temperature-wise, you notice this when you step outside. We're already off to a warmer start than yesterday. 3 degrees warmer in Portland, as much as 8 degrees warmer in Aurora. And statewide, once you get east of the coast, a lot of us are generally a good 2 to 5 degrees warmer to start the morning than yesterday. So with that in mind, today's going to be a warmer day. And in fact, the freezing level is just a little higher than it was earlier this morning, that measured at 12,600 feet. 65 last check at PDX. We're up to 66 now in Beaverton and sliding down to the south, our state capital in Salem, checking in with 68 degrees. Futurecast backing up exactly what we just said here. The cloud cover retreating very quickly, even from the Oregon coast. The clouds should be breaking up even sooner today than they did yesterday, and the rest of the state sunny and warm today. Let's fast forward into overnight and get you into Thursday real quick. We will likely see a pretty good marine push in at least the southern Willamette Valley and also through the mouth of the Columbia River. So here in Portland and Vancouver, we're likely to wake up to some brief morning clouds tomorrow. Those will retreat. I also wanted to point out that our modeling is now beginning to show some thunderstorm activity firing across south central Oregon tomorrow afternoon. And for that reason, the Weather Service actually issuing a fire weather watch for south central Oregon. Obviously, rain is good, lightning not good. Lightning could easily get some new fire starts going down there. So something we'll pay close attention to in the next 36 hours. All right, let's take you to the Chinook Winds Casino Resort Cameron, Lincoln City. Cascade Head off in the distance. And again, I think if you look closely here, you see a little slivers of blue. The very thin marine cloud layer there is on its way to breaking up, and it should break up sooner today than it did yesterday. 66 in Astoria, we think, this afternoon. Pacific City gets to 67. Again, in the Columbia River Gorge, take yesterday's highs and tack on about 2 to 5 degrees. The Dalles gets up to about 96. There will be a west breeze at 5 to 15. There's always a breeze through the gorge. That's pretty tolerable, though, by July standards. All right, central part of the state, again, 2 to 5 degrees warmer than yesterday. Bend gets in the 90s, Sun River in the upper 80s. Baker City yesterday was 78. Today I've got you at 83, so sunny and warmer for you and up and down the I-5 corridor. I think Salem gets, if there's somebody going to top 90 today, Salem up to Aurora and Wilsonville would be maybe 91 or 92. Getting up into Cowlitz County, I've got Longview at 84, Battleground in the 80s, and you can see the forecast here hour by hour in Portland. Warmer than yesterday. Again, we don't have that extensive marine cloud deck to burn off, so we'll be in the mid-70s before noon. And then sometime in the noon hour, I think before 1 o'clock even, we hit 80 degrees and we continue warming all the way up to about 90. That's my forecast high for today. And if we get there, I think we will, that'll be our 10th 90-degree day of the summer at PDX. We'll dial it back down a little bit tomorrow, so we stair-step down in the temperature department, but we keep the sunshine on Thursday. And a reminder, again, Thursday night, south central Oregon, we're watching for some thunderstorm activity. And then as we go to the weekend, we get a stronger marine push. What that does is bring in more moist air, more cooling, and more cloud cover. So Friday, Saturday, and maybe even Sunday too, we get back into that morning cloud, afternoon sunshine routine. And how soon those clouds burn off will have a direct relation to how warm we get those days. So that's why we think we'll be cooler. There's a sign of some warming next week, maybe back up to near 90 by Tuesday or Wednesday.
We still have much more coming up after the break. We're headed to Washington and then eventually your national forecast. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Wednesday. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and thank you so much for joining us. Now we're going to head to the Evergreen State, where today's going to be the warmest day in Seattle, Washington, before the natural AC from the Pacific turns back on. Meteorologist Rich Marriott has the details from Seattle.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott. It looks like another great summer day headed away around Puget Sound. In fact, a lot of places starting off with sunshine this morning. Our Bellingham Tower Cam, just sunshine there and blue water and blue sky again today. A really great looking day up there in Whatcom and Skagit counties on tap. And you can see not quite a start there in the Everett area. They did see the clouds and fog move in, and that's starting to burn back off again. We didn't have any sun for a while, and now it's starting to sneak back out, and they're going to be into sunshine. Queen Anne camera looking out towards downtown Seattle, and you see around the Tacoma area, they're still in the process of burning off those marine clouds, but those will disappear and it's going to turn into a sunny and warm afternoon. Checking our seven-day first alert forecast, you can see we do have the warmest day of the next 7 showing up today, and not by much, as it does warm again the first part of next week, but should be just a great 7 days of weather headed our way, and maybe even beyond that. Take a look at the satellite image this morning. You can see we do have the low clouds and fog that have moved in from the coast. You can see it. It's interesting to see it move into those river valleys out there on the west slopes of the Olympics. And then the jaws of clouds are almost closed entirely there over Puget Sound this morning, but they're starting to burn back now, and it should be mostly gone and back out towards the coast and parts of southwestern Washington as we head towards midday, and clearing out just about everywhere, even to the coast, in fact, as we head towards later on today. Take a look at the air quality. Good news there, we do still have a little bit of light smoke haze over the area, but the good news with that is it's not going to be much of a problem at all. You see only a couple of stations actually turn to moderate air quality, so overall it's going to be in really good shape for the next couple of days as that onshore wind does pick up, and that's going to push any remaining smoke haze out of the area. And the skies, once they do clear in the afternoons, will be a little bit clearer. In fact, you can see the air quality for tomorrow is good everywhere across western Washington. Even a good portion of eastern Washington is looking for good air quality. If you're headed up towards the mountains, things looking pretty nice up there. You can see, looking out from our camera there at Hurricane Ridge, a great day to be up in the Olympics doing a little bit of hiking, but you can see that little bit of light smoke haze that's still out there. But again, it's not affecting anything in terms of your ability to hike. There at Stevens Pass, a good-looking day in the Cascades as well, and gorgeous day to be up there at Paradise on Mount Rainier. Probably getting some pretty good wildflower blooms by this time of the year, and a great time to be up on the mountain. And again, great hiking conditions. Today we're going to be looking for nothing but sunshine. High temperatures at the highway pass levels, those are going to be warming up into the low to mid 70s this afternoon. And of course, those late sunsets means you can get back to the trailhead a little bit later without having to use a headlamp, which is good news. And checking tomorrow, actually looking just as good, maybe a little bit cooler with sunshine. There might be a little bit of fog at the pass levels early as some of that marine air kind of sneaks up there, but it turns to sunshine and temperatures getting into the low 70s tomorrow afternoon, so maybe a little bit more comfortable hiking. Here in the lowlands today, our warm day. We're looking for temperatures mostly in the low to mid 70s up there in the northern counties and low to mid 80s over the area from about Seattle southward. Tomorrow we'll see a little bit of cooling. Still a good day with temperatures in the 70s, maybe touching 80 in some of the warmest spots down in the South Sound. And then that cooling continues, so we get to that kind of low point there as we head into the weekend. But still, there'll be plenty of afternoon sunshine on those days, and we'll gradually start to warm back up again. Should see those temperatures back into the upper 70s and low 80s as we head into Monday and Tuesday. And it looks like we're going to be in pretty good shape as we head into next week. We're going to be looking for some morning clouds and afternoon sun. There might be a slight chance of maybe a shower headed away around Wednesday the 30th potentially, so keep that in mind. But it doesn't cool us off much. The high temperatures next week should stay in the 70s to low 80s all the way through. It continues to be an amazing summer around Puget Sound.
From western Washington, now let's go to eastern Washington, where they've had some much needed rain, but that may be it for a while. Spokane's Thomas Patrick has the details about what the rest of July looks like.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. We are now out of the cloudy and any rainy weather from the first half of the week. We are into a completely dry forecast for the rest of the month, and some days could be hotter than others. For those that did get rainfall yesterday, a welcome sight, heavy downpours thanks to just a few spotty thunderstorms in the area yesterday, but it was very hit and miss, even for Spokane specifically, where some areas got more than a half an inch of rain, others barely more than a sprinkle. But it's all dry weather now, as our temperatures will be at or above average for the foreseeable future. And that average is 87 degrees. We are entering our hottest stretch of the season on average. That is the highest it goes all year round. And the forecast is exactly 87 for today. So today it is right back to just that normal July weather after having a couple days that were much cooler previously this week. But even skies have cleared out across the inland Northwest and eastern Washington, and we're just in for basically hot weather, typically so for the rest of this month. Like I said, the end of July is typically our hottest stretch of weather for the whole year, and the temperature outlook trends above average. So it doesn't take much to put high temperatures at minimum in the 90s. But towards the end of the 7-day forecast, as you're going to see at the end here, it's going to be about mid-90s and possibly above for some areas of Spokane, and especially out towards the Tri-Cities, which has a very good chance to hit 100 degrees by the end of the calendar month here. And not much happening across really Washington. The jet stream fairly weak and mostly in a ridge pattern to give us that warmer weather than average, but even a little trough coming out of Alaska does not quite make it into Washington state. If anything, it just kind of crawls through British Columbia and Alberta. So any rain chances likely stay towards our north. If anything, the northern Washington mountains might tap into a little bit of that instability, might actually use some of the moisture from yesterday, even for today, for an off chance for an isolated shower over the mountains. But for the most part here, it's all going to stay towards our north, meaning that it's just quite simply sunny, dry, and hot for the next week plus here. 87 degrees for the high temperature in Spokane today, again, to exactly match the average high temperature for today's date. And it's either that or above for the next week or so. Even as we enter the weekend, 86 is actually the lowest I've gone for the next 7 days. I got 91 for tomorrow. Again, does not take much to get into the 90s, even that just 4 degrees above average. But even hotter days are likely beyond that. The weekend should be pretty pleasant overall. Again, right at that average mark at 86, 87 degrees for both Saturday and Sunday. Not much going on weather-wise, just mostly sunny conditions both days, and what should be a very pleasant and enjoyable weekend for us. The one thing I'm really watching is how strong the winds could be. So in this dry environment, any windier days could lead to higher fire danger days, and that could be on Thursday and Friday. Thursday winds between 15 and 25 miles per hour. Friday looks to be just a shade stronger at 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts. At that speed, red flag warnings are possible, but we'll have to monitor what the relative humidities are going to look like at the same time, especially considering some areas did get a good amount of rainfall from yesterday. That could help to stave off some fire danger. But our temperatures will be at or above average for the next week, and looks like next week could be even hotter in the mid-90s.
Thanks so much, Patrick. Coming up next, we're going to take you nationally, talking about heat and then the risk for some severe weather. While most of us out west are likely enjoying some of these cooler temperatures, even though we're going to warm up, our friends out east are dealing with extreme heat, and meanwhile, portions of the Midwest and Great Plains are bracing for severe weather risk. Kim Castro has all the details.
Happy Wednesday, I'm meteorologist Kim Castro. The big weather headline across the nation continues to be the extreme heat. Heat watches and warnings spread out, mainly focused for the central part of the U.S. The heat advisory you can see in orange, that's for heat index values between 100 to 110 degrees. This is from Minneapolis through Omaha, Nebraska, down to East Texas and the west side of Louisiana. As you get closer to New Orleans, push up into Mississippi and western Tennessee, extreme heat is a step up. So the feels like value gets up to 105 to 115 this afternoon. Those areas are at risk of heat exhaustion. The threat for severe weather today lies north. So from Minneapolis pushing just north of Chicago, there is the potential for a couple strong to severe summertime thunderstorms. Wednesday temperature cast is very similar to what we saw yesterday. Hot and humid for the northeast, upper 80s to low 90s. New York 89 degrees. Boston tops off at 89. Syracuse gets up into the mid 90s, 94 a high temperature today. In Florida, a couple of tropical storms brewing there. This tropical moisture has a very low end chance of actually developing into a formed system, but will bring some showers throughout the panhandle of Florida into New Orleans. Little Rock, Arkansas stays dry, but makes it up to 100 degrees. Plenty of triple-digit temps on tap for the Lone Star State, from 100 in Dallas to 101 in Houston. Even Brownsville getting in on the upper 90s at the very least. Again, severe storms possible from Minneapolis all the way through Green Bay down to Chicago, Omaha, Nebraska. On tap to see some thunderstorm activity. Bismarck, though, staying dry. Most of the West Coast staying dry today, except for the Sierra Nevada mountains. Reno could see a couple of thunderstorms as well, but most of the valley floor staying sunny, but much more mild. Look at LA, 72, San Francisco, 75. As you get into Vegas, you get into the triple digits. Phoenix also on tap to see a high of 104. That's regular summer summertime weather for them though. Pacific Northwest looks nice and sunny. Seattle 78, Medford, Oregon gets up to 95 degrees. The rain outlook through the end of the month into the start of August shows favorable rainfall for the north and west. As you get into the East Coast, about equal chances, slightly above average for this time of year. Temperatures continue to stay hot, above normal for a huge chunk of the country. If you want below average temperatures, go to the west coast. And there's that tropical moisture I was talking about. Only a 10% chance of developing in the Gulf Coast. If you are traveling, look out for some storms around the Great Lakes.
Thanks so much, Kim. Coming up after a short break, we're talking all things wildfires. Welcome back to Weather Out West. It's wildfire season, and as we well know, air quality can be severely impacted from wildfire smoke, even if these wildfires are so far away. It all depends on surface winds, also the upper level winds, mid-level winds as well. And a lot of times we see some wildfire smoke coming from Canada, reaching as far south, even the Gulf Coast. Now, here's a look at the wildfire smoke forecast. This is at least for the next couple of days. You see the light blue, that's indicating some light wildfire smoke, and this is mostly aloft in the atmosphere and the sky. And so you see a little bit of the moderate to maybe heavier smoke over Northern California, but most spots, the light blue, again, haze, maybe some light wildfire smoke, and that's through Thursday. Now, if you want some tips on how to protect yourself from some poor air quality and these wildfire risk, here's a look at how you can protect yourself.
Air quality and your health. 1. Stay indoors. People living close to the fire-stricken areas should remain indoors unless prompted by local officials to evacuate. 2. Do not exercise outside. If you live close to or in the surrounding area of a wildfire, don't exercise outdoors, especially if you smell smoke. 3. Don't count on a dust mask. Ordinary dust masks designed to filter out large particles and cloth facial coverings will not help you. They still allow the more dangerous, smaller particles to pass through. N95 or N100 face masks will filter out the damaging fine particles. 4. Take precautions for kids. Their lungs are still developing and they breathe in more air and consequently more pollution. 5. Roll up your car windows. When driving your car in smoky areas, keep your windows and vents closed and operate on the recirculating setting, including when using air conditioning. 6. Protect the air in your home. Stay inside as much as possible with doors, windows, and fireplace dampers shut, and preferably with clean air circulating through air conditioners and air cleaners. And 7. Prepare to evacuate if directed. Listen very closely to your local and state officials and act when ordered to protect yourself and your family.
And you heard that there, prepare to evacuate, which is what we're going to talk about coming up. But first, I wanted to bring you the air quality forecast today and tomorrow for the western United States. And so you see all those green dots? That generally means good air quality, except all the way down toward Los Angeles, typically some smog, and you see unhealthy for sensitive groups. That's that code orange, and then portions of Wyoming, northern Wyoming, it looks like unhealthy for sensitive groups. Now let's get to Thursday, and this forecast obviously will change, but all the way down to San Diego, Southern California, you see that moderate, that's the yellow dots there, portions of Utah, a good portion of it, even Arizona. Now look toward Minnesota near the Canadian border, you see unhealthy in that red, code red, and then that's when things really start to worsen for all of the people up in the northern plains. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Now, let's talk about evacuating, because that is key to protect your family, your pets, and of course, yourself. Here are the 5 P's of wildfire evacuation. always remember valuables can always be replaced, lives cannot. So as we know, wildfires can be really unpredictable. It's extremely important to know the 3 levels of evacuation. Here they are.
The 3 levels of evacuations. Level 1, evacuation or protection alert. A wildfire threat is in your area. Consider planning and/or packing in the event an evacuation becomes necessary. Level 2, evacuation warning or notice. High probability of a need to evacuate. Prepare now by packing necessary items and preparing your family, pets, and vehicle for a potential departure. Move persons with mobility or medical issues, and move livestock or large animals to a safe place now. Level 3, evacuation request or order. Occupants of the affected area or areas are asked to leave within a specified time period by pre-designated routes. Perimeter roadblocks are typically established. Evacuate now, take your family, pets, and necessary items, check in with your local Red Cross shelter in case family is looking for you, and drive with your lights on safely and slowly, remaining aware of your surroundings as you leave.
That does it for us here on Weather Out West on this Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow.